of an information system. But we have to also understand that projects have certain structures, and structure is an important element in the management of a project. How that project is viewed in terms of the technology using history of the company is important. So if the company doesn't have a lot of success using IT, then we manage the projects differently than if a company has a lot of experience using IT. So the structure of the project and what the company's history is with technology is absolutely important. We go through the design of an information system thinking about how it's going to pay for itself. Break-even is a very common and useful way of thinking about the return of an IS investment. So we don't get all trapped up in some fancy net present value ROI calculation necessarily, but we just take a look at break-even. We understand that the early part of an information system requires a lot of investment. But at some point we quit investing in the system, and we start looking at how much of a return in terms of either making money or saving money am I going to receive in order to cover the costs of the system. That's ultimately what's important. IS project success should return value to management. Those are the senior folks that gave us the money to begin with. Value is a function of use, and use is a function of usefulness. ROI is all about break even. We don't want to think in terms of anything else other than just breaking even and how quickly we can do that. We want to control projects as we roll them out, and we want small and quick wins that happen very, very quickly over and over again. And then companies differ in the way they're able to use IS. One of the ways we use IS is to create competitive advantage. We take a look at this picture of the stakeholders' three-legged stool. The three legs of a company, a publicly traded company usually, are your employees, your customers, and your shareholders. Those are the three elements that we look at when building information systems to say, all right, how do I return or increase shareholder value? How do I take care of my customers? And how do I take care of my employees? When I start looking at information systems and the competitive positioning they give me, an information system is most valuable when it gives me flexibility. That flexibility can be summed up in these four arrows: the ability to extend the organization, enhance the organization or its products, expand into new territories, or exit. Information systems help do all of these things, and that flexibility is valuable. As we start looking at Porter's model of competitive advantage or value chain, we see that the supply chain system typically looks at the first part of the value chain. The customer relationship management system takes a look at the back part of the value chain. ERP systems are all about taking care of infrastructure, HR, accounting, those sort of things. And all of those come to rest in the area of outbound logistics. If we'll recall, the value chain is made up of inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. So it's that outbound logistics, that place where finished goods ends up resting and where cost of goods sold is calculated, is absolutely critical. And that's where all three of these systems are joined. But information systems affect the service sector too. That's where we start looking at the customer service life cycle. We start needing to understand that how customers interact with our company, whether it's the services from our company or services associated with products we sell. And the information systems help us with that life cycle as well. When we create a competitive advantage, we have to understand that almost all advantages that come from the use of information systems are not sustainable. They're copyable. So although we can increase the cost of other people in our industry, the cost of doing business, we have to understand that we have to continue to invest in IS in order to have a sustainable advantage. Competitive advantages are easily overcome. For manufacturing organizations, understanding unit cost of goods sold is critical. In service organizations, understanding how customers purchase is absolutely necessary to be successful. Short-term advantages come from systems that either make or save money, and longer-term advantages come from infrastructure investments. Nimbleness is enabled by IS, and that flexibility is valuable. Compliance systems are those things that allow us to stay in business but don't give us any advantage, and we try to minimize their costs. When I want to manage IT, one of the things that we think about is the ethical uses of information systems. Richard Mason talked about the PAPA model, but of the 4 elements in the PAPA model, the model that is, or the element that's most critical right now is privacy. We focus a lot on privacy, keeping our data private, whether I'm an employee or a customer, and that's what's driving decisions today for IS managers. There are some constants associated with IS management. Most security concerns are privacy related. Business IS alignment has been a concern since the 1980s. We want to be aligned. We want to be well governed and keep those systems flexible so that we can adapt what goes on in our companies to changes in strategy. When we're trying to predict the future, we take a look at Moore's law, Gilder's law, and Metcalfe's law, and those help us understand where technology is going. Coase's theorem also gives us a way of looking at how to predict the role of outsourcing. We know that we're going to need more storage in the future than we do right now, and everything that's wired is going to become wireless. Schumpeter's law of creative destruction is what makes old companies look over their shoulder at new companies because of the new technologies that are springing up, and that becomes an important competitive position. De Gies's law of learning is why we continue to invest in training for our people. Finally, we do cover things like cycle time reduction as a way of being competitive. If we take a look at the new version of the internet, IP version 6, it helps us understand exactly where we're heading when we talk about competitiveness. So as we move from the old version of the internet to the new version of the internet, IPv6 gives an almost unlimited number of internet addresses to each person on the face of the earth, and is only going to increase the amount of connectivity that we all have available to us. This leads us to start thinking about the new version of the productivity paradox, which we call Productivity Paradox Part 2. In this, the exponentially advancing price performance capability of computing is driving an adoption rate for this digital stuff that's 2 to 5 times faster than previous infrastructures. So we're adopting digital technology very, very quickly. The gap between the potential and realized performance is widening as productivity grows at a rate far slower than the performance of the infrastructure underneath. That's absolutely critical. The IT that's running our businesses is growing and increasing in power much faster than the productivity rates that consume the technology. We have to keep in mind that there are 3 kinds of information systems: those that make money, those that save money, and those that let you stay in business. And that's what guides the whole thought processes behind the management of information systems and how management information systems affects businesses today and will in the future.